Good morning. Good morning to all who are present here. Am I audible to you? Please do feel free to chat with me through the chat box. You can also unmute yourself and speak up. I hope I'm audible to you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Johnson. Thank you, Denful. Thank you. Good morning. Warm welcome to everyone who's present here. Thank you so much for joining in. So I just see a few just trickling in, maybe just a few more minutes, and we'll go ahead with the session. Good morning. You can unmute yourself and speak up throughout the session. Otherwise, definitely it would be nice to keep yourself on mute for the smooth transition of the program. But stay connected with me. Continue sending your messages in the chat box so that I know we are in together. All right, so good morning once again to all who have just joined in. Welcome all of you to the Cambridge NT and SDC FDP. I'm really happy that I am connected with you today on the note that it's a beautiful day and we are all gathered here to look into activating students into productive language skills. So beautiful, nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining me in this program. Right. So before getting into the entire session, so it's so nice to see so many of you from various corners with various backgrounds as well. So I'm really curious to know more about you. So let's get into learning with each other. Of course, I am going to start with a very interesting topic. But before getting into it, I am Shri Priya and I'm very happy to join you today and welcome you to the Cambridge TNSD CFDP. So today we are going to be working together to see how we can actually activate students in productive language skills inside the classrooms and also look at English from a very different perspective. Yeah, of course, English as a subject and of course looking at English as a skill. So that's what we're going to work on today. So let's look into how we can do that as English as a skill. I think we all definitely accept the fact that English definitely comes with a lot of language skills, and harnessing and sharpening each skill is definitely another skill altogether. So before getting into the details, let's look into a few questions that are on the screen, which I thought I would like to ask you these questions. A quick warm-up. Now, there are three questions on the screen, and I'd like you to take a second to just go through these questions. And once you have kind of made up the answers in your mind for these questions, I'll tell you what we're going to be doing with these questions. So take a moment to read the questions and try to answer them within yourself. All right, so let's start this session with a very interesting way to get to know each other. So I'm just going to call out a few names that I'm just seeing. You can feel free to unmute yourself and interact with me and the others in the room. Also, you can send it in the chat box. So just because you're first on the chat list here, can I speak to Indumati? Indumati, the question is for you. Why did you take up teaching English? Would you like to answer that? Indumati, you can try to unmute yourself and speak to us if you wish to.
We have a request from Devi, just accepting it.
Yep, Devi, yes, it's open still. Of course, Devi, I love to hear it from you as well. Devi, are you with us? Is there anything that you would want us to clarify, or would you like to answer that question? All right. Anybody who would like to look into those questions and share your answers with that? Okay, Renuka, all you have to do is just try to unmute yourself and speak up.
So there's a speak button. If you just click on it, we'll be able to accept your request. Yeah, I'm accepting your request, Renuka.
All right, Akila, Nisha, it's my passion to teach. Lovely, that's beautiful. Renuka, would you like to share what you would like to do, or why did you take up teaching English? Okay, so we have a lot of passions here. Beautiful. Yes, I totally agree with you on that point where English as a passion, I think we are absolutely in the right track. So that's beautiful. Renuka, I'm still waiting to hear from you. Just try to do the speak button and talk to us. All right, let's move on to a few more questions that are on the screens. If you can directly share with me, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? All right, Nisha, Akila, if you could also share with us what are your hobbies and what you not like doing and what do you like doing. Okay, go ahead, put it up in the chat box as well. Okay, writing and hearing music, lovely, that's nice. All right, beautiful, that's nice. Okay, so I did hear a few lovely answers. Of course, we did hear it from Nisha, Akila. Now, these are beautiful conversation triggers of kind of warmers. That's absolutely, you'd agree with me, where you do hear it from your friends or the people around you. So you might have to go ahead and frame more questions like this to make the entire concept very interesting. I think these are a few very interesting questions that can always trigger conversations. And I think that was nice when I could hear it from Nisha and Akila. Feel free to go ahead and speak up as well. I'd love to hear your voices. Renuka, I've accepted your request. Go ahead and speak. Okay, from what Nisha and Akila, Malati, all of us shared, what do you think is very positive about what they have said? Do you feel there's some positive quality from what they have actually mentioned? If you do feel it is there, what do you think it is? Could you just put it up in the chat box? Oh, lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Narayanan. Absolutely, listening to music is something I'd love to do as well. I think that's a beautiful quality in there. I think Nisha, Killa, all of us agree with that. Encouragement, nice, Nisha, yes, lovely. So, yeah, I think everybody will be able to get at least one positive quality from all these questions that we are able to answer. Oh yes, Denzel, I'll agree with you there. Achieve their passion. I think this that is something we should look out for, and also the fact that achieving passion is something that we all love to, and this minds to go from there. Beautiful. All right. Okay. There are a few sentences on the screen. Now, these are also sentences that you have actually learned from each other. Now, by now, we did get a few answers from each other. So, if you can try to answer this question, all I want you guys to tell me if you can remember the person who has taken up teaching because the reason that they've mentioned, and one positive quality if they have that you can find out from what they have said. Can you put it up? From the activity we just saw, if you can remember your friend's name and if you can put it up in your own words, why they had actually taken up teaching and what is the positive quality that you derived out of it. Can you put it up in the chat box or can you just speak up? I'm just wondering if you're not able to use mic. Sam, if you could just look into that area, I really think they're not able to speak up. I think Denzel has already answered that question. They have achieved their passion. I think that's one beautiful quality. Oh yeah, Narayanan. Now that's the exact answer that I've been looking for. Beautiful, Narayanan. Beautiful. Thank you, Jacob. But I have wonderful participants here who do understand, and we are going ahead. Thank you, Narayanan, for putting up the answer. Yes, Renuka took up teaching because of her passion. That's beautiful. Malati says Vijayalakshmi took up teaching because she loves language and teaching. Lovely. Now you see what we actually did is what we tried to interact with the people inside the room, and we were able to get one beautiful positive quality. Now tell me, teachers, how can this activity be adopted for the use with students? Can you think of that question? Can this activity be adapted for use with students? And if it can be, can you tell me how can this activity be adapted with students? All right, Nisha, yes, I'm happy that you agree with us. Of course, we can do it. Yes, because this is a beautiful way of interaction, and this is a beautiful way of breaking the ice in the room. I'm sure you'll agree with me there. And Narayan and Nisha, if you can tell me, how can this activity be adapted for students? I mean, right now we had questions which were more teacher based. I think all you have to do is, okay, Hemant is coming up with some ideas. We can ask them what they want in life and make them understand that they can achieve it through education. Beautiful, Hemant. I think all of us will agree with you. Questions need to be just related to their scenario. Okay. Okay, thank you, Prabhakaran. That's a lot of detail about yourselves. Of course, Akila, on track, yes, you can try to do it with puzzles, games, PPTs. Of course, make it as interesting. Yes, Narayanan, I would agree with you there because, of course, with all the other technical issues we have now, pair works work, group works work. Definitely, all this can be done in such a scenario. Lovely. So, exactly what I've been looking out for. Thank you so much, guys. Right. So moving on from there, which of the four language skills do teachers find the most difficult to teach? Now let me hear it from you. Quickly, if you could put it up in the chat box, which do you find most difficult to teach? I mean, from your experience. Okay, Renuka says discussion on any issue. So, what skill is it exactly that you are focusing on, Renuka? Oh, lovely, Pradeepan. Thank you. Listening and speaking. Okay, finding it difficult to speak. Lovely. Grammar. Okay. Grammar. Okay. Beautiful. We have some wonderful activities coming up, which is going to make all this very easy for you and definitely in a fun manner, no doubt. Reading, says Renuka. Beautiful. Okay, so pretty much I think everybody has their own issues in each skill. All right, so I think major it goes into speaking. All right, thank you, Suganti, for sharing that. Thank you, Pradeepan. Okay, I think votes are high on speaking here. Okay, we'll focus on that. No doubts, we're going to get into that. Okay, let's look at the next question. Which of the four language skills, according to you, students find the most difficult to learn? Let's look at it from the other way. Students, Purnima, are you talking about students finding it difficult to learn? Okay, why do you think it is like this, according to you, teachers? What do you feel is the reason? All the four macro skills, Ramans? Okay, but why? Okay, Prabhakaran, am I audible to you? I think, please check your audibility from your end. Speaking, says Priya. Okay, I hope you're saying this from the student's point of view. Command over grammar, vocabulary, sentence, and structure. So that would be difficult for them while speaking. Okay, great. All right. So talking about speaking, when we have a student talking time in the classroom versus the teacher talking time in the classroom, I think all of us should agree that research has shown that in a given class, someone is talking for around 2/3 of the entire time. Of the time, two-third of the time, the teacher talks for only the two-third of the time. So these are things that we'll have to focus on. And given the following sentence in your mind, you'll have to think about the sentence that I just mentioned. Now, if there are 30 students in a class of 45, how much time do you think one student gets to talk in the class? Do you think it's enough time for students to learn how to speak in English? Think about these sentences. It really, really makes a difference because it's how we trigger the classroom to them, make them talk is what we'll have to worry about. Absolutely, agreed. Framing sentences for essay writing is difficult for many students, and structuring the sentences is something that they'll have to work on. So, this is something that I'm going to leave you to talk and think about it. Now, there are a few speaking problems that I have actually mentioned here, a few common problems that learners will have while doing English. Um, how can we try to work on these problems? Now, especially when students speak very little, they're very anxious of what to say. Yes, I agree with you, Nisha. It's very minimalistic, 15 minutes. That's something that we'll have to worry about. And also, these are the few problems that are actually up there. Is there anything else apart from this that you feel that could be a speaking problem for students? That's right, Suganti. All the more why we'll need to have a classroom that is very interactive, and we'll have to ensure there's a lot of activities going on. We'll have to work on these areas where we need to give tasks that involve speaking for meaningful purposes. So we'll have to absolutely ensure that they do speak for meaningful purposes, and also the fact that absolutely yes, you'll have to trigger the fact that whatever they speak is made meaningful. And if they are anxious of what to say, then you'll have to ensure that you build up the build up the confidence in them, give them the activities which support them with extra a lot of support like role play cards, and you also work with them. Okay, I understand, Muthukannan. Yes, we are getting into those areas where we can try to focus on these things. Issues around assessing speaking as well. Why we are having assessing speaking? Why is speaking a difficult skill to assess? Do you feel it is a difficult skill? What do you think are the practical problems that involve in assessing speaking in class? Now, I think we have a fair answer for this because definitely it's very fast. It's easily lost, very difficult to hold on to, and there are many aspects to assess. Now, that is where we are going to look into a few criterias to assess the student speaking, and we are going to look at a few lists of what it is. Before that, could you also share with me what do you think are the different criterias that can be used to assess speaking? What according to you? That's right. Renko, tell me what are the different criterions that can be used to assess speaking? Well, there are a few criterias that are on the screen for you right now. I'm sure you'll agree with us where we do speak about grammar, which I think many of you mentioned earlier. Of course, lexical resource, where we'll have to work on the vocabulary for sure. Discourse management talks about the coherence and the fluency, pronunciation, and a lot of communication skill. Yes, absolutely, Pradeep. And I think your answers are up on the screen as well. Yes, there are a few areas that we can assess speaking on, and these are the major assessment criteria that we actually focus upon. And these can also contain sub criteria like when we are working on grammar and vocabulary, discourse management, pronunciation, and of course, IC. Now, these are a few in-depth, elaborate ways of looking at each criteria. When we speak about grammar, yes, but of course, the range, the control, the simple forms, the complex forms, which actually changes from one level to another, needs to be focused on, especially when you're assessing. Appropriacy in your vocabulary and the flexibility in your appropriacy is something also that we focus on. Discourse management and interactive communication, I think they go very correlated to each other, especially verbally and non-verbally, I'm sure. But of course, verbally, it's very nice to have a relevant content that is spoken, and the extensive speech that goes on by each candidate, especially without repetition, I think that's appreciated. And also, when it comes to pronunciation, I think the sentence stress, the word stress, individual sounds, all that will add on to a beautiful area of assessing them. Right. Now, as we just spoke about speaking, I think many of us also agreed on the fact that writing is pretty problematic to teach. I think many of you did mention that. Please share with me why do you think writing is problematic to teach? I think Nisha initially mentioned that there is a sentence structuring that is a problem. Anything else that you feel is a major element for writing to be a problem to teach in the classrooms? Okay, yes, spell checks is an issue, yes. Okay, grammar, agreed, Raman, absolutely. Sentence structuring, beautiful, yes. Yeah, major, I think almost all the major elements have been rightly said. Content for sure needs to have a good achievement of what you're delivering, how it is laid out, the organization, the structural aspect, the recipient, the reader, all that needs to be taken into consideration, and the purpose of the entire writing. I think, yes, I agree with you, Hemant, there. You need to find the writer to be making an interest on the reader and the impact that they give on their work. Now, this is one particular way of looking into processing the writing part, where you can kind of, give 4 to 5 key points and ask each participants to elaborate on those points. That can be individual work, but of course, you can put this in a group as well, and the group discusses the reasons and then puts it down, and then they write down what is the purpose of it and what they want to convey to the reader. I think this is answering your question there, Hemant. Who are you writing to? And based on the about, decide the appropriate style, the formal, informal. So this is one aspect of how you can process writing into the classrooms. Then obviously, I think when it comes to writing, there's enough checks and enough proofreads. So there's always more than one or two drafts that we can work on. Work on the first draft, individually write it, and then obviously there are areas where your eye doesn't find out what mistakes or errors or grammatical errors that you're finding. So always go ahead, share it with another partner. In the same way, you have a pair work going on, but try to share with your partner, read, ask, get their comments, get more clarity, and then finally draft one which you can revise and organize on the basis of the feedback that is received. Right. So now working on writing skills, I'm also moving on to the interaction patterns. Now, talking about interaction patterns with the students in the classroom, we can talk about a few that is on the screen right now, where you can discuss activity that we have just done and completed the sentences. Working individually means what according to you? And then we can also speak about opening the pair work, close pair work, and group pair work. Any other interaction patterns that you would like to share on the chat box with me? Any other kind of interaction pattern apart from individual open pair work, close pair work, group pair work? Absolutely, Prabhakaran. Peer learning, yes, they do fit into pair works. Lovely. Role play, beautiful. All right. So definitely we're getting into what you just said. Pairs of learners doing an activity in front of the class. That is definitely an open pair work. Also, you can give feedback doing a PPT, doing demonstration of an activity. Yes, that gets into the group work. I'm coming to that, Manikandan. Yes, that would be the individual one. Akila agreed. What we do when we talk about close pair work, when two learners actually work together to complete a task and then they have a discussion about it, where there is interaction happening, but there is individual discussion happening and individual talent which is exhibited and then carried forward. Now, when we talk about group work, as Manikandan mentioned, absolutely nice to have group work where all heads put together, complete task, and carry out discussions, which makes it very interesting. A lot of perceptions, a lot of thought process happening, a lot of brainstorming. The other few interaction patterns that can be taken to be in the note are how you can mingle, where learners walk around the classroom, you can make them move around, talking to a few number of the classmates inside the room where they get familiar with the classmates. At the same time, they end up talking to each other, which also breaks the ice. Of course, where there's a whole class where the teacher and learners are involved in an activity together, there's a lot of feedback, there's a lot of brainstorming happening. So that's a beautiful thing to do. And to keep a very open class, which is quite similar to the whole class interaction pattern, but teacher actually tends to lead it and then tries to get the answers from the individual learners, which will be another interaction pattern. Quite interesting patterns, I'm sure. I'm just putting up a few advantages and disadvantages of pair works. I hope you'll agree with me here. When it comes to advantages, I think there's a whole lot of advantage there, especially when we have students who like to interact with each other and who are very comfortable from learning from each other. That is beautiful. But of course, it carries out a few disadvantages as well because sometimes we do have some dominating partners, and then that is where I think the teacher needs to step in and try to work on those areas. Any other advantages and disadvantages you feel for a pair work? Do put it up in the chat box. Group work also definitely comes with a lot of advantages. Group work gives learners a chance to hear a wider selection. I think I'm sure that is something that we always look forward in group work because there are a lot of heads put together. But when it comes to the disadvantage part, some learners definitely feel isolated. They may not be taking part into it, and they may never even speak in the group at all. So that is something that we'll have to work on and be careful on. Talking about mingling patterns, I think that's very nice. I personally like this inside a room, but then of course the disadvantage part is that the room becomes very noisy. But I think that is something I actually like. But it is difficult to organize, so you'll have to organize it in such a manner that you'll have to work on those areas. But otherwise, it's lots and lots of fun when we have a lot of mingling in the room, and it develops a lot of confidence. That's right, Manigandan. That is somewhere where you'll have to rope in the people. You need to select a leader. You'll have to rope in the participants and try to work on. But I think mingling is one beautiful interaction pattern. And then when we talk about whole class, I think it's very nice because the teacher needs to have everyone's attention at the same time. And of course, yes, I agree there, Saravanan. But learners may feel relatively unpressured when there is a whole classroom happening. But again, when you look at the disadvantages areas, there are, like Manikandan said, some people may feel shy. They don't want to speak about it. True that, Prabhakaran. Those are areas where you'll have to kick in and work on those areas. Beautiful. So, what we are going to do is, out of this entire summarizing what we have just gone through now, I'm really happy that I found most of you syncing with what we just spoke about. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences as well. Now, I'm going to quickly move on to the B1 level, where I am going to come up with some activities where we are going to do it inside the classroom. So what we can do is we'll try to squeeze in two levels inside today's program. I'll start with the A2 level, and then we'll slowly go one notch above to handle the B1 students as well. Now, this is the area where I really want you guys to become students of A2 level and enjoy the activities that are going to come up. All you have to do is look into the activities and become students and try to understand from their perception, and then we'll see how we can do it. All right, so are we ready to get into the A2 level of activities that we can put on? Yes, Malati, lovely. I'm happy you're in track now. Right, beautiful. So today's A2 level, I have picked up a very interesting topic, and the topic is going to be on describing experiences. Now, when we are talking about describing experiences, I want literally all of you to remove the hat and put on your student's hat, because we are going to be doing that for some time right now. Let's consider this to be a beautiful classroom where you all A2 level students, and your topic for the day is going to be describing experiences. Okay, so starting with the describing experiences, I just want to tell you what kind of an agenda we have. We are going to talk about describing feelings, about experiences. In the process, we are going to trigger out a few adverbs and adjectives to describe the experiences, some conversations, and then we'll take it further from there. All right, so are we all ready? Okay, to begin with, let's have a quick brainstorm experience in the classroom. Now, I want you all to share with me an interesting experience that you have had. Any interesting experience that you have had, if you could share with me in a very short note. Thank you, Manikanta. Or very briefly, if you can tell me an interesting experience that you had. Okay, let me start by sharing a very interesting experience I had. Very recently, I had stayed in an ashram for around 2 weeks, and I wasn't allowed to speak the whole time. Now, this is something that is very difficult for me, and I had to adhere to the rules there. But it was a very interesting experience, and I don't know if I'm ready to go through this again. Now, let me hear it from you all. Any interesting experience that you have had? Okay. Now, Malati, tell me one interesting experience that you had, just briefly, if you could just put it up in the chat box. Anybody would like to share with us your interesting experience? All right. So, thank you, Nisha. For me, last week I went to an amusement park. Beautiful. And if you could share with us what actually happened or anything that you experienced. Okay, thank you, Nisha, for saying that. Is there anything else you'd like to add from that experience? Did you enjoy the amusement park? Okay, so I'm coming back to that. We're moving on to the next one. Okay, I have one from Prabhakaran. When I boarded a flight to Goa from Bengaluru, I forgot my luggage in the airport and I immediately raised a complaint to the air hostess. Fortunately, I got my luggage in Goa airport. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Prabhakaran. Okay, got it, Manigandan. I understand. Okay, right. Nisha says she enjoyed a lot with her little one. Beautiful, lovely. That's a very nice experience, Prabhakaran. I think I liked what you said. Thank you for sharing that. Right, let's move on. That's fine, Nisha. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the next activity where we are going to brainstorm for some vocabulary. Right now, before I get on to that, let me share this particular picture on the screen. Okay, so is the picture visible to you? I have four pictures on the screen. Could you please confirm if the pictures are visible to you? Lovely. All right. Okay. So go ahead, put your ideas into the chat box here. Now we have four pictures on the screen of people with different jobs. All right. Now I'd like you to look carefully at each picture and quickly, maybe in a sentence. Thank you, Geeta. Quickly in a sentence, if you could discuss and say what the jobs are. So you can just put them down in the chat box by giving the number out and say what kind of jobs they are doing and what's happening in the picture, just in a line or two. Okay. Akila, if you could mention which one. Okay, thank you, Prabhakaran. Lovely. Okay, so Prabhakaran says photography, third one, beautiful, awesome, beautiful. We have lovely students in the house now. Lovely, yes. Yes, Balaji, you're perfectly right. Right, beautiful. Yes, right now what we did was we saw four pictures on the screen and we saw four different jobs. And yes, the first one could be skiing or could be mountaineering, both accepted. Yes, fireman or firefighter was the second one. Third is a photographer. And the fourth one is an archaeologist. Beautiful. So we have lovely answers out there. Now, I want you to look carefully at the screen now. Now, coming up are a few, all right. Now, there are a few sentences on the screen. Now, I want you to look carefully at the screen and read what's written on A, B, C, D and try to tell me who is saying what. Now, like you rightly said, we did have four jobs out there, but we do have four categories here of speaking. So tell me who is telling what. Just link it with the number. I give you a couple of minutes to work on this. Okay. A4. Oh, lovely, Pradeep and Saravanan. Beautiful. 1C, B2, 3D. I really wish we had the audio here. It would have been very interesting where one of us could just read out the entire sentence which is spoken and then relate it with the person who's doing the job. Yes, beautiful. Lovely. I think you've all got the exact answers. I think beautiful. Yes, one was C, no doubts. That said, that was so hard. The weather was terrible. I had a difficult morning. It was scary to be on my own, but now it's beautiful. It's just amazing up here. What a truly awesome place. All right, Akila has got all the answers put into. Thank you so much for doing that, Akila. Beautiful, right? Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's right. We have two as B. It looked frightening, but the good news is everyone's safe. However, there's a real awful mess. So that's what a firefighter has to say, right? It's cool to be close to the rich and famous, but it's all not always fun. I've been sitting outside a restaurant for 3 hours. I'm still waiting, and it's quite boring now. That's the life of a photographer, right? Yes, lot of patience. Lovely, lovely. And then I think finally this is very exciting. We are going to find out so much as we keep going. Some people think my job is dull. Actually, it's very interesting. I think that's what every archaeologist has to say. And yeah, somebody did mention that it looked like trekking. I think it's more of excavations and a lot of archaeological backgrounds that are in the picture. Beautiful. I think that was a beautiful activity done. But if you did notice, we did have a beautiful brainstorm of vocabulary here. Now, tell me all, do you think you can incorporate this activity in your classroom? So, all you have to do is just get 4 pictures, and then you'll have to get 4 write ups about it, and then tell them to synchronize with it. Now, if you are able to do this, I think there's a lot happening here which we are going to discuss. Will you be able to do this activity in your classroom? Yes, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. So, can you tell me what are the skills we are triggering here? There's a lot of reading happening for sure. Okay. So, a lot of reading happening. I'm sure you'll agree with me that there's a lot of vocabulary happening. Yes. Picture description, beautiful. Yes. Narayanam Priyadarshini, in truck. Yes, beautiful. Reading, understanding. Yes, if there was one person reading it out to the other, then there's a lot of listening and speaking as well. Manikandan, you're right. Almost every skill being triggered here. Do you think it would be nice to do it in a group or in a pair? Absolutely, agreed with you. Yes. Yes, I think both ways it would work. We can do this in a pair, or you can think about a group work here as well. So, if you want to work it out in small groups, then I think that's beautiful because there's a lot of brainstorming here, especially, even now in our classroom, it was happening. Yeah, in a pair, I think that's beautiful. Of course, small groups would be more ideal where there are, if you say there are 4 pictures, then you can do 4 in a group and ideally give one job description to one person. So that's going to make it very interesting. Beautiful. I think that was very nice. Good job. Moving on. Yes, absolutely, Sarvanan. I'll agree with you there. Okay, so I am moving on to the next activity on the screen. So let's get into the next activity. Should I zoom it a bit for you? Is this enough? Okay. Now, this is the next activity that we are going to work on. Now, this is another beautiful activity. I want all of you to participate. Yes, Manigandan, let's do it together again. Now, let's make this an interesting one. Now, on the left, you do find some sentences which were quite related to the picture that you just saw right now. So that they are all connected activities, and you see how you can relate to each one of them. Now, on the left, you have a few sentences, and on the right, you have a few sentences that are going to demand you to supply similar words. In other words, we're talking about synonyms. So, that's a beautiful topic that we can actually inculcate through this activity. Again, students, you are going to become one of them right now. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start calling out each sentence, and I want you to start putting it up. I think Geeta is already the front bencher there. Beautiful. She's on the score. The first sentence for you, that was so hard. What other words can you try to put into substitute the word hard? Any synonym would be ideal. Beautiful. Difficult. Terrible. Horrible. Difficult. Inclement. Okay, from A2 level, Renuka, that's the beautiful class. Difficult. Okay, yeah, I think difficult was the on the chart. I think majorly, I think that would be appropriate. Beautiful. I think all your answers were good. Yes. Tough. That was so lovely. That was tough. The weather was inclement. Okay, okay, got it, got it. All right, so let's move on to the next sentence. The weather was terrible. Let's try to find a synonym for that word. The weather was steadfast. Okay. The weather was terrible. Now, what are the likely words that we can probably get from A2 level students? Furious, difficult, unbearable, lovely, horrible, okay, bad, absolutely, okay, unbearable, yes, makes sense, right? So when you substitute it back in the sentence, it sounds so correct. Beautiful. Let's move on to the next sentence. I had a really difficult morning. I had a really difficult morning. Now, so you can ponder at this area what could be the difference between the first sentence and third sentence when we have very similar words, but they are so contextually different from each other. So you can kind of contextually relate to that word and see how it can become similar. Yes, exactly. Beautiful, Geeta. I think I had a really hectic morning relates to the context, right? Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Lovely word. The weather was dead. I had a really sad morning, difficult morning. Okay. Nice, nice. Frightening morning. Okay. Burdensome morning. Okay. Unpleasant. Beautiful. Just look at the words that are coming in. Lovely, lovely. Great job. Okay. Yes, Priyadashni. Got it. All right. Let's move on to the fourth sentence here. The fourth sentence says it's just amazing up here. It's just amazing up here. What can you try to substitute for amazing? It's a lovely word. It's just amazing up here. Wonderful. Just like you all. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Fantastic. Excellent. Wonderful. Incredible. So, somewhere deep inside, I think we relate ourselves to the picture that we just saw. Yes. Oh, yes, Raghavi. Beautiful. Fascinating. Nice. All right. So, moving on to the next sentence, pretty similar, but I'd love to hear more words. What a truly awesome place. What a truly awesome place. Absolutely. See, when we speak contextually, I think we try to relate more to the location and we try to give an answer for that. Okay. Catchy, marvelous, stunning, jaw dropping. Beautiful word. Okay. Fascinating place. Beautiful. Moving on to sentence six. Yes, eye catching. That's a good one. Sixth one. That was eye catching for me as well, Raman. Okay. Sixth one. It looked frightening. It looked frightening. What can we do for that? Frightening. Sixth sentence. It looked frightening. Yes, given to the fifth one. Scary. Okay. Now we are on track. Disgusting. Scary. Okay. Horrible. Afraid. Scary. I think very appropriate would be that. Yes. Petrified. Okay. Petrifying, I would say. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's move on to the seventh sentence. However, there is a really awful mess. Awful mess. The seventh one. Awful. Terrible. Purnima, are you with the seven? Disgusting. Unpleasant. Okay. Disgusting. Okay. Moving on to the ninth one. Some people think my job is dull. Okay. Saraswati has already mentioned boring. I think yes. That's nice. My job is dull. Ninth one, some people think my job is dull. Boring was absolutely right. Beautiful. Not interesting. Lovely. Tiresome. Not so well. Lovely. Painful. Exhausting. Yes, beautiful. Right. Last sentence on the screen. This is very exciting. This is very exciting. What can we say for something that's very exciting? This is very exciting. Interesting. Thrilling. Yes, that's the word. Pleasant, beautiful, lovely, amazing. Okay, right, very nice, very nice. Right, so with that, I'm coming to the end of this activity, but let's reflect on this activity, shall we? Now, for the past 5 to 6 minutes, we've been holding this chat box with beautiful words. Now, what has this triggered inside you? We had 10 sentences on the screen, and we actually brought in like 10 into 5 times number of words. So, what do you think is the reflection of this activity? Exactly, Priyadarshini. Beautiful. Vocabulary was exactly what was being triggered here. We had more than enough vocabulary for just the 10 words that we had it on the screen, but we had so much vocabulary development. Absolutely agreed. I think we kind of thought of so many things. We literally mind mapped ourselves. Exactly. It was literally kindling the cognition development. We mind mapped it, and we kind of tried to bring in so many vocabulary words which try to contextually suit the sentences. Beautiful. Let me ask you one more thing. Now, we did have this query on how do we handle grammar. Now, tell me, all of you, what kind of words did we actually handle with? Grammatically, what type of words did we speak about now? Searching for words, and what kind of words were they? When we spoke about terrible, difficult, awful, scary. Absolutely, I think we focused on a lot of descriptors here, lot of adjectives coming up, describing the feeling, lot of content words, of course, lots and lots of adjectives coming up, very, very familiar words, new words which are quite similar as well. Yes, beautiful, Akila, and lot of adjectives and lot of adverbs as well. So if you notice, we did try to touch in the grammar part, but it was done so indirectly that actually made the entire task so interesting. At the same time, it did a lot of grammatical activation inside the mind. I hope you'll agree with me there. So lovely. I think you guys did really, really well. But before I end this activity, tell me, what is your idea? Would it be nice if you would like to work on this activity as a pair or as a group? Would it be nice to do these activities of calling out all these sentences as a pair, or would you like to do it as a group? Yes, lovely. I think both works. Yeah, pair as well as a group. Definitely, it'll work. Group will be more fun because you're going to get lots and lots of words out there and a lot of learning happening. Pair was also a very good idea. So you can try to trigger this inside your classrooms from the A2 point of view. So tell me, would you be able to put this into your classrooms? Yeah, that's a good idea as well, Sarun. And probably initially you pair it up and then you put them part of other groups. So you have lots of heads together. So that makes the entire activity interesting. It's how creative you get inside your classrooms. I think that's a beautiful idea as well. Yes, thank you for agreeing on that, Renuka, Nisha, and Divya. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Now, also, if you did notice by the end of this activity, we're almost getting very familiar with the words that are happening. Yes, absolutely. So we are moving on to the next activity here. Now, keeping this activity in mind, what we are going to do is we are going to move on to the next activity.